Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon to Dr. Saleh and my fellow friends. I am Aizi Muliani binti Bakri, A164010. Today I'm going to talk about non-verbal communication. So what is nonverbal communication? Nonverbal communication is referred to as simply as communication without words or the use of non-spoken symbol to communicate a message. Okay, according to Hickson, the aspect of the communication process that deals with the transmission and reception of messages that are not a part of the natural language system. Any aspect of communication that does not include words is considered as part of the non-verbal. So what is the relationship between verbal and non-verbal communication? So relationship between verbal and non-verbal communication happen when both play their role by sending and receiving messages. Together they emphasize emotion and draw attention to your point of view. The receiver will understand the individual. For example, when we are sad, we talk to someone, which is verbal action, and in order to feel the comfort, we hug the person. So it is a non-verbal action. So what is the characteristic of non-verbal communication? So non-verbal communication expresses feelings, emotion, and messages without the use of words. For example, smile, cry, anger. And non-verbal communication is one of the 5 skills of emotion intelligence and helps to build strong relationships and overcome challenges and success in work and life. Non-verbal communication is strongly related to verbal communication as it substitute of contradict, emphasize, and regulate verbal messages. Non-verbal communication is continuous because one is constantly communicating through non-verbal behaviors. It's like they need each other in order to the person understand the message. So the next one is function of nonverbal communication. The first category is complementing. The characteristic is complete, describe, or accent a verbal message. For example, a person needs help immediately, so he yells as loudly as possible. The next one is repeating, which expresses a message identical to the verbal one. For example, a person says yes, and at the same time, he or she nods her head up and down. The next one will be regulating, which is control flows of communication. For example, a person nods his head as a way of communicating, like I am interested in what are you saying, which is implied to tell me more. The next one will be substituting, which is replace a verbal message with non-verbal signs to exchange thought. For example, the two people use hand signals to communicate because the environment is too loud to hear each other's voice. For example, like you are talking, but then the surrounding is very loud. And the lastly is deceiving. The characteristic is nonverbal cues the purposely disguise or mislead the create or a false impression. For example, a doctor examining a patient discovers a serious problem, but the doctor's facial expression remain natural so not to alarm the patient. So which means the reaction of the doctor is actually to make the patient become calm before he or she hear the news. So the next one will be the cultural universal in nonverbal behavior. Across culture, the same body parts are used for nonverbal expression. Nonverbal channels are used to convey similar information emotion, values, norms, and self-disclosing messages. Non-verbal messages accompany verbal communication and are used in arts and ritual. The motive of using the non-verbal channel, such as when speech is impossible, are similar across culture. And then, nonverbal messages are used to coordinate and control a range of contexts and relationships that are similar across culture. So there is a video that I will give you guys to see. So let's move to the type of nonverbal communication. So the first one is paralanguage, which is concerned with the study of vocal cues. For example, like accent, emphasis, loudness, pause, pitch, nasality, tone, rate, or speech and tempo, which mean it is more related on how we talk to the person, like how the intonation and how loud we can be in front of the person. And the next one will be kinesics. It is the study of body language on how it helps deliver the message. For example, body posture, gesture, facial expression, and eye movement. So the next type of nonverbal communication is oculesics, which is concerned with eye behavior as an element of communication. It is a powerful form of nonverbal communication used to express emotion, intention, and attitudes. For example, students focus with their lecturer in the classroom, which demonstrate their interest and respect towards the speaker, towards the lecturer. Proxemics is also the types of nonverbal communication. It concerns with the social use of space in a communication situation. It is interpersonal distance. Human perception of space are shaped by culture. Space distance refer to how close the person to you. For example, friends, family, and colleagues. For example, like when you're talking with your friends, like you are close to each other, right? And if you're talking to the lecturer, to someone have higher status, you have the gaps between them. That is what is the means of proxemics. The next types of nonverbal communication is haptic. It is the use of touch in communication, which is can send multiple message. It discloses one attitude towards one communication partner, for example, hugging, anger, fear, and it display intimacy. Like for example, like I said before, when we talk to others, as the response, we hug the person to feel the comfort. And the next one will be olfactics. Most the odor that we use, for example, on perfume, body scents. It indicates the social status. For example, the higher status will use flower scents, perfumes. Meanwhile, the lower status will more on like sweating, something that reflects that their stat level in the community. Physical appearance and artifact is also types of nonverbal communication. It connected to the physical feature, body types, demographics, eye shape, gender, height, skin color, and weight. We commonly judge a person by their look, and it reflects or not with their attitude. For example, a big person. So we assume that he or she have a loud voice and then speak loudly. And last but not least is chronemics. It is our patient unwillingly to listen how long the person to talk. It affects one lifestyle, daily routine, rate of speech and movement. It also shows one status example. Boss can have impromptu meeting. Meanwhile, a worker need to make an appointment to meet their boss. So it's like if the person has the highest status, he or she need to make distance or appointment to meet them. So thank you. That's all from me.